Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Patreon podcast. It's been a while since I recorded one of these. I've had a couple in the backlog, and like I mentioned a couple places, I've been doing a renovation on the kitchen for the last month, and that's finally over. At least the contractor part of it is. So I can get back to my studio and actually sit down and do things, which is nice. Having said that, I have a lot of backlog to catch up on, which kind of segues nicely into the topic for this one. My plans for 2022. I was going to say 21, but that year is now over, isn't it? This year was weird. I do have a lot of plans. They're kind of all over the place, and I haven't had as much time as I'd like to properly, get all prepared for this. But I do have my Trello board, and I wanted to talk about kind of where I wanted to go in the future, because there's, another year coming, and that's a good time to figure out where you want to be. One of the things, also I apologize for my voice, I literally just woke up. One of the things that I wanted to do is obviously continue the 2-hour album challenge, the OST jam, and the remix albums that I usually do in February and September. Those have been a ton of fun, and it's really great for the community to just kind of get together and work on a project. I do want to use the OST jams as an excuse to just make games. Specifically games in smaller scope, because Pandemonium and Hyperthread kind of got away from me a little bit. I really love the ideas for those games, but they got away from me, and that's not a small scope game if it takes more than 2 weeks to complete. So it's finding the idea, hammering it out, making it work, and then just being like, this is it. And I have a couple thoughts on what I want to do for the January OST jam. We'll just see how that goes. Another thing I want to do is I want to release Pandemonium on itch. I've been working on the full version of the game, and it's 98% done. I just need to sit down and do the rest of it. So that's high on my list, probably to get out in January or February. Also, the good thing about that is then I can also release the album for Pandemonium, which I absolutely love. It's 12 piano ostinatos. Excuse me. And it's a really good album. I've been listening to it just to chill out once in a while. Really, I think that the next couple weeks for me are focused on just recovering my physical, mental, and spiritual health. All of those took a really big hit for me during the remodel. I have been basically locked in the basement for the past 3 weeks, and it's been fine. I had to be down there with the cats, basically. So I didn't want them to freak out and start throwing up or ripping things apart and stuff. So I had to be there to make sure that they were safe. But that also required me to be there. And there's not much to do aside from sit on a couch and watch movies. And I had my laptop, but I couldn't do much game development, and it was just driving me a little crazy. So I'm still recovering, but at least I'm on the road to recovery, so it's going to get better. The other thing that I wanted to do, and one of the main things that I didn't get done this year, is finish an ebook. I wanted to write a small book on how to write a song in 2 hours, because I feel that at this point I am pretty much the world authority on that. Which is, not really a big feather in my cap, but it's pretty fun to think about. I did hit episode 300 last week. And yeah, I wanted to write a book on that, both as kind of more just a general inspirational thing for music makers, but also general tips on how to overcome writer's block and how to be less serious with the art that you make. I think that there's a lot of really good information that I have that I've kind of learned over the last 6 years on this, and I want to convey that to people. I want to bring that out there. Another thing, I was talking with Shaka Panda, and he is getting into voiceover work, and I'd love to do more voiceover stuff. But a big thing for me is that I just want to maybe work with audiobook producers, actual companies, and be a musician for them, because I have so much music, and that might be a good in for me, just to help elevate audiobooks to a point where it has like some audio, like some like music or tonality in the background. And I did an audiobook. I narrated one this year, and I added some music, like some really basic humming and some like ambient stuff in the background for certain parts that felt like they needed it. And I think that it was a really great add to that, excuse me, to that style of just audiobook. I think that it works really well, and I'd love to work more on that. Let's see, what else do I got on my list? Oh yeah, I have the idea of I wanted to create a USB stick, just kind of like a screen printed thing, or maybe some kind of like those little shaped guys. I think that would be a lot of fun to have a USB stick that literally has every song I've ever released on it. So basically, whenever somebody buys one, I just load it up with every song, and then I ship it out. And I think that would be a really fun thing to have. And honestly, honestly, I think that there's a lot of like little secret things that I could put in there. If I ever make like an augmented reality game, I can hide things in there. I don't know. That's a long way away. Yeah, I wanted to finish Hyperthread. I needed to get that out. There's an album I started, I think like 2 years ago now, called Infinity Loop, which I've completed 3 of the 6 songs, and I just need to get back to that, and I need to wrap that up too. Let's see. Oh, like Spotify, like you can have looping videos on your Spotify songs, and I've kind of tasked myself to go through and actually make all of those loops. So that's a huge project. I'm going to do like 3 or 4 albums a month and just kind of plow my way through it. It'll get there eventually. I also want to I need to pause this real quick. The cats are getting into something. And we're back. Trevor got on the fridge and started knocking the magnets off. Another thing I wanted to work on was just game dev assets. I wanted to, like, all the sample packs that I have made, a handful of them would work really well for game development and other kinds of and other kinds of projects. So I wanted to get some of those packs on the Unity store, as well as music loops and other stuff like that. And really the main point that I wanted to make with this is that I wanted to figure out how to split up my income as a creator. There's 2 types of things. There's the passive income and active income. I really want to focus on the passive stuff. So things that I have to do once, and then they just send me a check every month for whatever I do. That's really what I want to focus on. Because even though you get less from that, it's less work in the long run. I mean, the same thing with like DistroKid or Gumroad. Like, I already put those packs there. Like, I don't have to work on maintaining those packs. They're just there, and people find them and buy them, and that's great. So I wanted to focus more on passive income this year, but there's also a couple projects that will be more active income. I have a potential album or 2, like for game development. So I'm not really sure if those are going to pan out, but at least I have those in the hopper. If they do work out, then I'll have a project to work on in February or March or so. Let's see. Another big thing is I'm changing around how I manage my Gumroad. I have done a sample pack every month for the last like 30 months, and I think I'm kind of done with that. So I'm going to suspend the monthly sample pack for a while, barring January, where I'm going to release the 2-hour track challenge sample pack from songs 201 to 299. Yeah, I don't have any ideas left on that, and I'm still making decent money. I make a couple $100 a month off of that, which is great. Like, that's awesome. But it's also kind of just like, I don't really know what to do anymore there. I'm going to obviously keep the Gumroad page, and I'm going to update it once in a while, but I'm not going to have the same rigorous schedule that I currently have had for the last 2 years there, because it was just too much. Especially these last couple months where I had no idea what to do. And then it was just like, oh, I have to put something out in 3 days. Let's go bang around on some plastic sheets or, whatever. And it's just like it's a lot. But there are things that I want to put on Gumroad that still allow me to just give me an excuse to email the people that are subscribed to me there. Because I have like 10,000 people on my email list on Gumroad, and that's amazing. But it's something where I want to make sure that the stuff that I put out is quality now. So like the ebook that I was talking about, I want to put that out there. If I do make more sample packs, I want to make sure that they're higher quality, so I can just charge for them on the onset. Obviously, patrons would get them for free still. I'll figure something out with that. I know I haven't been very good at posting those on the Patreon site, but there's been a lot going on. But yeah, any paid stuff like gives me an excuse to just message everybody and be like, yo, there's a new thing, it's 50% off for the first month. Please consider grabbing it. Because, when I do put something out, like 200, 300, 500 people grab it on the first day, and that's awesome. And I'm curious to see if whether or not that's because it's free or if it's because something I made. And when you don't put out things that cost money right away, it's hard to tell. So I think the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to do the ebook, which isn't going to be complicated. It's only going to be like 50 to 100 pages, and not like super dense text. Like I want to have images, and I want to just kind of go over the overview of it. But putting something out that's paid on day one, even if it's paid at a discount, excuse me, I think will be an interesting experiment to see how much money I could make off of Gumroad if I focus on paid goods instead of stuff that's free. So that's a big change for me too. I know I'm kind of rambling on here. What are we at? Like 15 minutes? Oh, 12 minutes. But that's really it. Like I have a lot of things on my Trello board, but not a lot of them are like top or very important. Like I have game dev ideas and other stuff, but really I want to focus on getting more passive revenue streams and just trying to figure out how to figure things out. Yeah, just kind of get back into the swing of thing. I don't know, man. Like I did really well up until the end of November, and when this remodel started, everything just went to hell. Like I can't complain about that. Like I saw it coming. It's just I didn't want to deal with it, and I know I had to, and I dealt with it, and it kind of wrecked me. So it's getting back on my feet for that. Like for a long time I did like journaling in the morning, and I like tried to meditate, and I tried to do all of this stuff in the the first hour of the day, because that's kind of where a lot of my energy lies. And like I was doing really well, and then the remodel started, and all that stuff kind of fell by the wayside, just for the sake of just trying to stay sane and just trying to juggle two different contractors who have different goals and like all this stuff. It was a mess, but thankfully it only lasted a couple weeks, and it's done now, and we can work on rebuilding the house. The other thing is that like, seeing as we had to clear out the kitchen and the dining room and all this stuff, like all of that is in the studio, and it's like it's spread out throughout the whole house, and it's just I haven't been able to get to my computer in 3 weeks. So aside from the weekly streams, which have been kind of either delayed or whatever, but one thing I am proud of is those weekly streams. Even though I wasn't really in the best place mentally, like I really like the songs that came out of them. Like that's a real confidence booster for me to be like not really in the best mental state, but when I sit down and I work on something, like stuff happens, and that makes me happy that I'm able to like keep that momentum going. And I'll probably reiterate a lot of this in my my 2022 goals thing on Patreon, my post. because I always like to write about that, as well as how much money I made this year, which I did okay. Like that's great. But I also want to make sure that everything is wrapped up. And I don't know, like I said, I didn't really have an idea for this podcast. I have a couple lists, little topics for next month. But I knew I wanted to do a plans for 2022 Patreon podcast, and it's like, oh shit, what am I going to talk about? I don't know. Now I'm just rambling. I hope that somebody got some good info out of this one, but I mostly just wanted to kind of talk about my plans, how I wanted to focus on like more passive income, and just some of the bigger projects that I'm working on over the next couple months while the year gets going. Yeah, my big thing is really just finish the book, finish Pandemonium, make sure that the community stuff keeps rolling along, and yeah, like just kind of business as usual, but I want to keep tweaking it, and I want to keep seeing if there's like something that I can do with this vast library of music that I've collected, and see if I can, find better ways to monetize that in the long run. So it's getting there. I've talked about it a lot, but I am working on paying off my mortgage. I know that 2022 is going to be the year that I do it. It just depends on when. And part of that is reliant on, like Christmas bonuses from my day job and all that other stuff. But I'm very excited to be fully debt free. And that's been a big, big goal for me for the last 5 years. And this is the year where it's going to happen. And that means a lot to me. So yeah, that's a big one. And honestly, I can't thank, the Patreon and Gumroad and Pretzel and all these other, like the fact that I have Tallbeard Studios is the main driving force as to how I can pay it off so quickly, because I have all these passive income streams. And by quickly is in quotation marks there. It's still taking a long time, but I'm getting there. So it's like being able to grab this stuff and just pay things off. It means a lot. So anyway, now I'm super rambling, so I'm going to get going. But again, thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. I really genuinely do appreciate it. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday, fantastic New Year's Eve, and let's hope that everybody has a better 2022. So I will talk to you. God, my voice, I'm sorry. I'll talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.